So Nintendo has been extremely sporadic with their Nintendo Switch Online updates, and for the better here lately, because you might remember that last month in October, we saw 3 different rounds of updates for the expansion pack tier, with a couple F-Zero games getting dropped into the service. Then we saw Banjo-Tooie announcement right around the time, October 25th, when Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack would be renewing for members, that Banjo-Tooie was coming to the service. That was a big deal. And then we had like 2 Halloween-themed games, or more the horror-based ones, Turok and Nightmare Man or something like that, whatever that second game is called, slips my mind at the time of recording. Anyway, 3 different N64 games and 2 Game Boy Advance games hitting the service in 1 month. Very uncharacteristic for Nintendo. Then this month we get through most of November, no updates, and just last week we saw them add Donkey Kong Land into the base tier service, which was a great win. Then just the other day, Monday evening, they dropped Donkey Kong Land 2 into the service, which is very baffling why they didn't just drop 1, 2, and 3 all together. And maybe we will get 3, maybe we won't for a while, who knows. But then they'd go and surprise everybody last night with another round of updates for the expansion pack tier, this time for a all but forgotten system, the Sega Genesis. And we have 3 different games to actually check out today. As you can see, the following tweet from Nintendo of America, which says 3 classic Sega Genesis games have just been made available for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members: ToeJam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron, Vectorman, which is actually the one that I'm the most pumped for because I have some heavy nostalgia for this game growing up, and Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs. Now, before hopping into some of the gameplay, there was actually also some behind the scenes netcode related things that were discovered as part of this update, which I want to first go over. So, well-known data miner online Oatmeal Dome shared a discovery that Luigi Blood made, where you can see this post, which reads, NSO Sega Genesis with version 3.0.0 update. The app has now been converted to use NPLN, the new servers. This is the first app that Nintendo has converted from NEX to NPLN. Note that the actual netcode is still peer-to-peer. Any further details, NPLN is Nintendo's new server system that they've been rolling out over the past few years. It replaces NEX, their old system. I'm not sure if Nintendo will end up converting actual games, but I can see the other NSO apps receiving conversion updates in the future. And the long and short of that, from my understanding, it's not Nintendo moving to dedicated servers necessarily across the board with NPLN, although I do believe that that is a possibility with the server technology. You could still just play peer-to-peer, but the actual base netcode that everything is running should be way more optimized than what we see with NEX, where if somebody just has the slightest lag on their end of the internet connection, it affects everybody else that is in that play session. I do believe that NPLN, while we've seen Nintendo use some of their new Switch games with that server technology and other ones not, it seems like that is definitely the technology of the future for them, and they're converting NSO apps now, starting with Sega Genesis. And I believe that as the service rolls forward into their next gen console, as we know that's a confirmed thing that will be happening, we will likely see these apps get more stable for their online play connection overall, and hopefully just create that better end user experience. But now that we're on the same page with all of that, I do want to check out some of these games together with you all, boot them up, and discuss the future of NSO and whether or not a few rounds of updates per month might be the standard schedule that we see Nintendo potentially stick to from here. So we'll get on the same page with all of that. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And with that, we'll hop right over to some NSO gameplay. All right, so 3 new Genesis titles to check out, and we'll see if we get through all of them. We may just do a couple. Definitely want to check out Vectorman the most. A ton of nostalgia for that game. ToeJam and Earl. But I do want to first start off with the fact that, yes, it's been a while since we've seen any Genesis updates. They still have a pretty nice catalog overall, because the nice thing about when Nintendo does do their Sega round of updates, it's like 3 to 5 games minimum that we see them drop into the service all at once. So while it's been forever since we've seen another round of Genesis updates, we at least get them kind of in bulk, not just one game at a time or anything like that. But we're gonna hop right into Vectorman first, because I have a ton of nostalgia for this game. One of my best friends to this day that I grew up with had this. I believe we bought it from one of those used video game stores, and it was just one of those immediately fun platformer action shooters with crazy boss fights and enemies and all of this. And that's just an intro startup Sega screen that you can play around and have fun with while you're actually waiting for the game to load up. Well, I guess you technically don't even have to mess with that at all. You can just press start. But obviously, nostalgia has a lot of the appeal for NSO. A game that you remember, that you loved growing up and playing. is probably going to mean a lot more to you than maybe checking out some old game that you'd never heard of in the modern day. 2024, 2025 and beyond, gaming has come a long way from back in these from back in the early 90s when these games were coming out. But nonetheless, tons of fun to go back and play. Like whenever it's a game that I'm like excited for, Donkey Kong Land 2 also. I'm gonna get through Donkey Kong Land 1 first, but just having these, classic games that I remember from back in the day. Here recently, Nintendo really has been, in my opinion, doing great stuff with NSO. I get it's not, a subscription service, not ideal for everybody. And I still wish, in a perfect world, and maybe they would give us the option to purchase the games individually if we wanted to, kind of making it like a virtual console or NSO thing. But for me, being a lifelong Nintendo fan, even though it's another subscription service and I hate to have a bunch of those, as many as I do, I'm gonna, there's enough value there for me. I'm just gonna keep this service. And so the total amount of games that you actually have available to you for that one small monthly fee, or well, I guess it's annual, 50 for the expansion pack right now. Not a bad deal overall, in my opinion. And I gotta brush up on my Vectorman skills. They have definitely waned over the course of time. And I don't remember if I even have like a block. I don't know if I have like the ability to block necessarily in this game or not. So anyway, yeah, we'll have to kind of get reaccustomed to that, because I know you can't take a ton of damage before Vectorman just like gets totally taken out. But yeah, you used to see all of these more just try something new, try a brand new character, and some of them take off, some of them work, some of them don't. I don't think Vectorman was super popular. I know it had a sequel to it. Probably picked this up for like $5 or less at a one of those those rental video game stores, sell off type things like they used to have, where video stores started to go out of business. They'd sell off all their games for purchase, not just renting. And I'm pretty sure that's how we picked this one up and went back and played it for quite a while. And if you were back in 90s kid, you grew up, maybe you had a Super Nintendo, you always had like a buddy or friend or somebody that had a Sega Genesis. And that was the exact situation I was in. So I owned the Super Nintendo, but Sega Genesis I never owned myself until later on in life. But had a friend literally right there within walking distance to be able to go over and enjoy some of the Sega games that were going on at that point in time. Yeah, and I kind of forgot too, like the different types of power shots that you get as Vectorman just definitely changes the game in terms of how fast you can do damage and things like that. So more on the difficult side though, I mean, you do really have to, like I was mentioning, it really only takes a few hits before you're dead and restarting. So I guess you get to a checkpoint, it's not too bad. But we won't spend too much time in this particular game just because I do want to at least check out ToeJam and Earl next. So we will hop into that. Now to quickly kind of go back to what we were talking about with the NPLN thing, that is pretty cool that this app actually got switched over to Nintendo's new server system. I don't think it's going to make online play perfect or anything like that, but I do think it will be an improvement. And the fact that they are able to do that with the current apps, even on the current gen Switch, is very promising, because it means, we may not have, I guess you do actually have to be two players to play as ToeJam and Earl at the same time, don't you? So, it's one of those things that at least we'd be in a situation where, even for Nintendo Switch users that don't upgrade to Switch 2 right away, you're still going to have the ability to enjoy better online play, better, more stable servers. And that's, definitely like a bonus as well. So, gosh, the color and vibrance of ToeJam and Earl is definitely next level. The platforming feels very, very wonky compared to what I'm used to, but like if you were playing like, Mario or something, and you come over to this, it feels like you're kind of in space compared to a Mario game. But really no nostalgia for ToeJam and Earl. I know they're like fan favorites and definitely have like a cult following to them, but it's just not games that I got into. So you'll probably notice like I may not know exactly the best strategy or things to do. I'm not even really entirely sure what I'm looking at that's enemies and what's not. So I'm assuming that this is going to be an enemy here that I got to take out. It's an Earthling. So and we're getting points and stuff. So yeah, the personality and the vibrance of ToeJam and Earl is next level, and it's absolutely here. I think I was reading somewhere that Sega Genesis collection for Nintendo Switch is getting discontinued. Whereas like the, obviously physically you're still going to be able to pick stuff like that up, but I believe it's going to be pulled off of the eShop. So I wonder, not necessarily that these new updates are correlated with that or anything, but I do wonder if Sega or Nintendo or whoever's making these kind of decisions, writing the checks to get these games, thought, you know what, maybe let's not have a collection of 50 Sega Genesis games available when we're trying to, on the platform, whenever we're sitting here trying to make Sega Genesis a selling point for the expansion pack tier for that $50 annual price point. So Future is bright for NSO in my opinion. If Nintendo could stick to multiple updates a month like they've been doing and actually make them quality games, and then we talk about it rolling forward with ultimately new consoles like we'll get in the next generation, because since we know we're not restarting and we're going to be able to carry all these games with us, and you add GameCube, DS, and 3DS and Wii into the fold one day, and I'll tell you, you're going to have an essential subscription service that is just going to be like a must-own and no-brainer for Nintendo fans. Now, will we have another price increase? Potentially. I could see GameCube and Wii, whenever those systems get added in, maybe even with the start of GameCube, Nintendo like entertaining that $70 annual price point mindset. It is a possibility. I wouldn't put it past them to potentially raise the price once they add in more fan favorite consoles and things. I hope that that's not the case, but I could definitely see Nintendo trying to up that annual cost just a little bit from where it's at right now. But the biggest thing is that if they can just kind of knock off going really crazy long times. I don't know if that door is taking me backwards. I feel like it is whenever I go into it, so we're just gonna go skip past that this time. But Nintendo kind of going just AWOL with the service for long periods of time. Like, I mean, there's been points where it's like a month or two we don't see an update. I'm all for the surprise cadence and not knowing if it's frequent like this. Like, whenever we have multiple updates to talk about pretty soon back to back to each other, that's where surprise me all day long, Nintendo. I'm totally good with it. So I'm assuming there's probably something more that I need. No, this is a new area, so it's kind of tough to read and figure out, like, if it's not just like super obvious on where I'm supposed to go, what my object here is. But yeah, ToeJam and Earl fans, I'm sure, can make fun of me in the comments. But yeah, I just, there are games that I definitely do actually need to go through because, love the soundtrack, love the personality and the vibrance behind them. But yeah, not going to be the easiest to figure out like what's going on while I'm playing it live with you guys. But let me know in the comments down below, because I don't think we're going to check out the last game. Kind of looks like a Contra. Well, I guess, you know what, we will, we'll go to it just like as we're kind of closing out here so you guys can kind of see the vibe of it and everything. But the Donkey Kong Land games are like obvious recommendations for anybody that's even remotely a Donkey Kong Country fan. I do think that you want to hop into those at some point. The color scheme of them, because it's just original Game Boy, definitely not as impressive visually or anything like that, or even from like an audio standpoint, but definitely an essential playthrough for any like hardcore Donkey Kong Country fans, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to getting through those in entirety. And then you have kind of like, this isometric shooter Contra in a way. Obviously it's not side scroller or anything like that, but kind of has those same kind of vibes to it as far as the gameplay and stuff goes. I'm sure you get like crazier weapons and level up your weapons as you go. So I'm sure there's some people out there that have nostalgia for this as well, and it's a bigger selling point for you. I'm definitely going to spend most of my time in Vectorman as time goes on here, but yeah, let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling about NSO and these back-to-back months with October and November being some of the best so far, with just from a total content perspective and total update amount, getting 3 rounds of updates each month, which you can argue Donkey Kong Land 1 and 2 could be considered one update since they were so close to each other and both on the base tier and stuff like that. But nonetheless, total content wise, we're sitting at 5 games added for this month, which is definitely better than none like we've seen Nintendo do in some months, or just do like one tier of updates and not for 2 different tiers. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with NSO. Let me know where you hope it goes from here, and kind of get your overall thought on the service. Is it an essential service for you right now? Is it something that you can kind of take or leave, or were you once subscribed and you're just waiting for something big to get added in to justify resubscribing? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.